Hello, welcome to the rest of the news. This is Frank Simon, and our special guests today are Ed Holloway, who's a state representative, retired, and Rhonda Palazzo, who was running for Congress against Yarmouth. We're very glad to have them with us, and we've got a video here we want to show you, and this is... That was a video of Antifa, and they were having sort of a demonstration out in California, and they were saying, no Trump, no wall, no USA at all. Now, what do you think of that?
That's exactly what they've been up to for a long time, and this is just another layer of that process of eliminating and destroying the American system so they can build a new one.
They don't want USA at all.
Exactly. In order to have a one-world government, you have to destroy the existing structure.
That's exactly correct. We are the strong kid on the block. They cannot obtain their goal of establishing a one-world government and having a central ruling system without breaking America.
Exactly. And it all goes back to they're all anarchists. And the word has biblical link. And the bottom line is to start anew, first destroy the old. And this is all that's been going on for a long time. It started with the movements in the one world order and trying to do it economically. And it hasn't worked because Christianity and other things that America's system had, certain things they couldn't accomplish. So they have to destroy it. And they've done it with the education system, through the academic community, and the media, which includes Hollywood.
Yes, absolutely.
So we've got a situation in this country where it's been building for a long time, and the worst part has been the fact that they have taken over the education system. And the millennials and all of those that have come along under that system, well, it's hard to describe the conditions that they are existing in.
They're being brainwashed.
They're brainwashed completely. The suicide rate's up 30%. All of these things are happening because people don't have any aid. And they talk about Christianity. Over 25% of the millennials don't believe in anything. The atheists are just completely anarchists.
I think part of that problem is that we have many Christians in America that have not participated in the political process. We have many Christians that don't even vote, which I find to be completely against the Bible.
Exactly. And this is a responsibility that has failed to be developed. And it's a problem. It goes back to some of the ministers who have been threatened with various things, including a cutoff of tax-exempt status and all of these other things have made them, in order to press their ability to communicate the proper thing. Like onward Christian soldiers, we need to fight this situation.
Now, that's another whole story about the 501c3 movement. Back in 1950s, it was passed, and then the Johnson Amendment that was passed shut up the mouths of ministers so that they could maintain their tax-exempt status. Now, here's a question I'm going to pose for all of our listeners. Did the church turn over their right to speak out in the public system for 30 pieces of silver?
That's a very good point. All of these things are happening now. The two individuals that are the National Committee Chairman of the Poor People's Campaign have the title Reverend. And there's other ways that we've had people. And I never will forget the shock that I had when they were interviewing a communist who was attending the Presbyterian Seminary here in Louisville back in the 60s. And they said, why would a communist want to become a minister? And he said, what better place to teach communism than from the pulpit of a church? So all of these things have been infiltrated. That goes back to the Students for Democratic Society, the Weathermen, and Ayers, and all of those people that were trying to do it forcefully with all kinds of action against sit-ins and burnings and all the other things. And it wasn't working. So they made a decision that we have to work from the inside.
Right.
And then we have to go into politics, we have to go into the religion, we have to go into academics, go into the media. And now they can pretty much control all of those elements. And like you were mentioning earlier, the average Christian takes care of himself, his family, and works and all of those things and not politically aware of the devastation that's taking place. And it's a complete thing in our society. And the moral and social decline that's taking place is all evident in our culture. So this is exactly where we are. The Poor People's Campaign is just a continuation of everything from the Wall Street set-ins and on and Black Lives Matter and all of those things were attacking the system, not the problem. They were treating the symptoms, not the problem.
They're not even treating the symptoms. When I was at this protest, along with my brother, and we were filming it, they keep hollering for demands. We demand this, we demand that. We demand fair wages. Well, that's interesting. Kentucky has one of the most livable cost of living in the nation. We demand equal rights. And Louisville and Kentucky have some of the best racial relations.
Right. The individual who came down here from New York is one of the co-chairmen of this at national level, and he was the one in Frankfurt leading the riot, talking to the people, making all these speeches and all that stuff, and demanding that we go in and take over the Capitol building and all the other things. And here, as not a Kentuckian, he was a complete outsider, and they're doing this kind of thing. And they're moving around the country and doing it everywhere. And when this issue becomes old hat, there'll be a new one. It's a constant effort to destroy the existing structures.
I'd like to read something, if I may, from the Poor People's Campaign. This is their principles of the Poor People's Campaign.
I finally got this going. Can we just listen to that for a second? In their own words, the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival to challenge the evil, systemic racist poverty system. Okay, I didn't read it fast enough. Their fundamental principles, we aim to shift and distort moral narrative often promoted by religion, from issues like prayer in the school and gun control to one concerned with how our society treats the poor. This is probably similar to what you were going to read.
Could you pause it and we can talk about that? What he was speaking of, we put that on the video. Number 7 in their fundamental principles says, we aim to shift the distorted moral narrative promoted by religious extremists in the nation from things like prayer in school, abortion, and gun rights to what they consider moral issues, to how society treats the poor, to those on the margins, to the least of these, to the LGBTQIA people, which I'll explain the last few in a little bit, to workers, to immigrants, to disabled. They want to redefine morality.
Away from what God says
to what they want it to be. That's their primary principle.
When I see a group like this, the first thing comes to mind, who's paying these people? And we think it's George Soros.
Well, Soros and his counterparts and others are all...
His whole network.
There's an elitist group that he has just become more of a focal point, but there's a lot of others that are involved in this that are extremely wealthy, multi-billionaires. They're funding all of these things here because they are still after the one world government, one world order. All of these things are their utopian thing that they've been after since the 30s. And they're now feeling very elated that we've got this thing on the move and we keep it up, and the more we can do to destroy the United States.
Pay people enough, they'll go up and start a riot at the Frankfurt and everything.
Absolutely. And this is a thing they've been doing even in elections. They bring busloads of people from another state in and let them vote, all in order to control the political process. And the Democratic Party has been taken over. I think it goes back to what Ronald Reagan said. I didn't leave the party left me.
Right.
And all of these things are happening, and they have gotten completely controlled. You look at the National Democratic Organization in Washington and how they have operated and how they are controlling things like the last election. And all of these things that were a total shock to them because they thought they had everything
in the bag
and have it. And when Trump got elected, this has thrown a new wrinkle into the battle, and they're doing everything to completely destroy his credibility. But he is a kind of a person who is not a political body in this true sense of the way they operate. And he is complete enigma, and they don't know how to handle it, and they don't know how to control it. And he doesn't want anything. He talked about the elite the other day, and he said, I'm elite, if you want to call it that. If I got more money than they do, I've got a better house than they do, and like all these things. But what's the thing about elite? So he has a way of communicating with the common man, and this is very important that people listen to some of the things.
And they don't like it when he talks.
They can't stand it.
The immigration issue. The Democrats want total open borders so they can bring in more and more heroin and more dope and keep the price low so more people can overdose on it, and more terrorists and more low-paid workers, so that a lot of people are put out of business because these people are pouring across the border that are taking their jobs.
It's also bringing in voters. They're bringing in
Absolutely.
voters because they're beginning to lose the good conservative African-American base.
Yeah, that's right.
And so they have to bring in a new group of voters to manipulate.
Okay, do you want to play a little more of this? They're just trying to sort of start a riot. Was that a fair way of saying it?
They were trying to get themselves on the news to get free publicity, to gather more people for their movement. And they were obstructionists. They were obstructing.
They were sitting in the doorway.
Yes, in the doorway. There was about 50 of them. They were crowded in the doorway, blocking anybody from actually going into the Capitol. In fact, my brother filmed from the outside. I went in, and to go in, I had to show ID. I had to guarantee them I was not with the group because they were only letting so many in, because one time before they refused to leave. Several of them got in.
And they spent the whole night.
Yes, they spent the night there, and they didn't want to have to arrest people. I'm sure the governor is trying to keep it peaceful.
And they did damage while they were there. The police did not arrest anybody. They went over to the Capitol, to the governor's residence, and wrote on the walls and other things that they did that were totally illegal, and anybody else would have been arrested. But because they didn't want to get into publicity, the police did not do anything. So this is the kind of thing our law enforcement, others are being forced to back off and allow some of this stuff to go on in order to keep propaganda down.
I love our governor, but I disagree. I think these people should be taught consequences. They should be made examples of, and every person who breaks the law should be put in jail, had to hire their own attorney, pay fines. Let's set an example and teach people right from wrong. Obviously, they haven't been taught, or they don't care.
That's right. Well, we're watching the video that you and your brother made. They're still talking, so I turned the sound off. I'm hoping soon that they'll show them blocking the doorway, because I know that's on here. Oh, here they are. They're going in now. Let's see if it shows them blocking the door. You all can't see this.
In fact, my brother couldn't even get in. I got in earlier and was filming from the inside. He couldn't even get in. They were blocking him. The protesters were blocking him.
So he couldn't get in
getting
either.
in. And he was blending in, looking like one of them. So it's an obstruction. I would not have allowed him in the doors. If I was the governor, I'd have him partitioned out there.
Well, see, these are just like the guys that are over there. No Trump, no wall, no USA at all. They want to get rid of America. Is that right?
Exactly. And this has been the ultimate goal, because you cannot rebuild into a world order with the existing structures. So you have to destroy it. And any way that you could do that is a fair game.
Like bringing in more and more illegal immigrants.
Exactly. And we've reached a point with the saturation.
Here they are. They're sitting and blocking the doorway here. I don't know if you can see. It's not too good a picture. But anyway.
There were several ministers that had on the LGBT rainbow vestment, which is a total dichotomy. It does not, cannot believe in God and the Bible and agree with the homosexual movement. It does not work.
No. Oh, this is the thing that's happened, and they find people like this, and they create them.
Yeah, they pay them to do it. We had an announcement, but I don't know if we're going to get the announcement or not. But anyway, here it is. Maybe Rhonda would say something about it.
Oh, yes. Vickie Yates Gleason won the primary, the Republican primary, to run against Yarmouth in the fall. She is having ice cream social Sunday, June 24th from 2 to 4 p.m. If you want information.
Let's see, is that June or July?
That's June 24th. That's this coming Sunday.
24th. Okay.
Yes. It's on Wolf Pen Trace. Please contact her campaign, or you can dial this number, 662-832-2994. And Heather will give you more information about this social.
Get the number again.
The number is 662-832-2994.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and what about the address again?
I think you have to RSVP, so they would call. We may not want to put the person's home address out there without.
Okay. In other words, they're trying to change and get our country back.
Yes.
Okay. In other words, they're people that want to destroy our country. Is that right?
Exactly.
Through more and more immigration, more and more drugs, more and more illegals, more and more taking over people's jobs, more and more people to vote illegally or legally, whatever they can get by with, bringing in more and more of these riotous.
Exactly, because they cannot build a new society, a one world order with the existing structures that are in the United States, with organized political activities and other things that are trying to destroy completely the whole system of America.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dr. Simon, I'd like to say this. The left and the progressives and the liberals are very organized. What I want to do is a call to action for every Bible-believing, God-fearing Christian to stand up and to begin to take part, to become part of the American Family Association, to commit to doing your God-given duty of voting. And I don't mean voting for something that supports LGBT movement. You cannot vote for someone that stands for the principles that go against the Bible. If you do, you will be held accountable. Exactly. It's in the Word. So I want every Christian to not only agree to vote, agree to pray for your candidates that are up there, but also to get involved with your civic duty. Begin to come together and support one another with your finances as well.
Voter registration is very important. Every church should have voter registration if they want to follow the Bible, contend for the faith, and the Word of God. They need to have voter registration. Now, I was talking to a pastor the other day. I said, well, how's the voter registration? He said, oh, we never do that. Separation of church and state. Well, that is not true.
And it's not even in the Constitution. There is no such thing.
Now, you were talking about getting involved. Here is a petition. Arkansas has put "In God We Trust" in every classroom in their public schools. And we need to do that in Kentucky, too. So this is a petition to do that. And if you'll call this number, 895-5025, 895-5025. You can call right now, and we'll send you petitions for your whole church, your whole neighborhood, your job, everywhere. We got to get organized like the anti-God people are.
May I say one more word?
Yes.
And this is to all the pastors out there and the deacons. If you are afraid to stand up and begin to teach your people about right and wrong, and about how they have a talent and they have to spend that talent as opposed to sitting on it and hiding it. Spending your talent is a good example of voting. Every minister that keeps quiet, I believe we're in a shaking right now, and I believe God is going to remove those ministers who are not taking a stand for him.
What does the Bible say? The Bible says to contend for the faith. If there is ever a time we need to contend, it's today. Contend for the faith. Jesus himself said we should occupy until he returns. But we're not occupying. We're backing up. It's time to obey what the Bible says. The other quote is, have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. Mm-hmm. We need to reprove the unfruitful works of darkness. So, are we going to follow the Bible and what God has told us, or are we just going to throw up our hands and give our children to the forces of evil?
Oh, Satan.
Satan.
In between the four walls of the church is not going to work anymore. We've had a very prosperous nation, but things are changing.
Well, this petition can help every church get organized. We can take our country back.
Yes.
Is that right?
Exactly. And you can start with your own little church.
That's right.
With your Sunday school classes and start with the children and move it right up through the thing of the whole congregation. Because there's one thing that we want to emphasize more than any other, that these midterm elections are the most critical election in the history of this country.
That's right.
We've got the General Assembly in Kentucky up for re-election. All of these things are going to be controlled and brought forward to maintain the momentum that Trump and the others have started to reform the government. And without that, and if it reverts back to Pelosi and Pelosi and all of those people.
Right.
I mentioned that because it was a joke that a friend of mine was telling me. But it is unbelievable the things that they are saying and things they're doing. And once they get back in control, God helps this country.
Let me just say one thing about these DVDs. We'll send you a copy of this DVD of the demonstration in Frankfurt. That was, 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
And we'll send you a DVD of the Antifa that's saying no Trump, no wall, no USA at all. Now, people don't believe that there's big money and lots of folks trying to eliminate the United States. And I don't believe that. Well, here's the video and here's the proof. And if you call that same number, 895-5025, we'll send it to you and you can show it to everyone in your church, your neighborhood, your job. We'll give you extra and you can give them out to everybody. But it's real. Is that right?
Completely.
We don't have to take it. God is bigger than Antifa. And with God's help, we can turn this all around.
Well, if you look at the people that are involved in some of these protests and you study their faces and you look at another protest in another part of the country, you see the same people. Some of them are mobile. They're coming around. They're the organizers. They're the ones that stand back in the crowd and make the pep talks, all this stuff to work the masses up into a favored red.
Now, we're about out of time. I want to thank Rhonda Palazzo, Ed Holloway, and we especially thank you for tuning in. Call that number, 895-5025, and with God's help, we'll turn it around and see you next week. Thank you.
If you carry sweet Jesus, I must say, yes, I'm done. Help us to love our enemies as Christ loved us, and Him loving enough to tell Him about Jesus and our wonderful common love through Christians and the gospel of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Praise God. Moving on. We had one of the special sisters in Louisville. They put the abortion clinics right in our community. And they hoodwinked and bamboozled our black leaders to believe that abortion is good for us. I come to tell you, I'm glad God raised up some women, some black women, who will stand up and say this thing ain't right. I want you all to welcome our good sister, Angela Mentor, with the Sisters for Life. Amen.
Amen. Praise the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Now, the scripture says that when you put the praises up front, it stills the hand of the enemy. Amen. So when we begin to bless the Lord, then the enemy begins to become self-slaughtered. He begins to fight against himself. So, Lord, we just bless your name. We give you the glory, the praise, and the honor. For this is the day that you have made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Father, we just want to thank you for healing our land. You're so faithful. Great is your faithfulness. We declare, Jesus, you are the King of kings, and you are the Lord of lords. You're the great I am. You're Alpha and Omega. You're the beginning and the end. You're the first and the last. You're our way maker. You're the lifter of our head. You're our mind regulator, our heart fixer, our burden bearer. We declare you the sweet rose of Sharon, lily of the valley, bright morning star. Jesus, we declare your lordship. We declare that you're Adonai. You are Lord and you are Master, Jesus. You're not just our Savior, but you're Lord, you're Master. And we just want to let you know that we're so grateful, Father. Because of the blood of Jesus, we can come boldly to the throne of grace to find help in the time of need. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. we thank you for our praise and worship, God. Amen. You know, I want to tell you that and Dr. Simon, they asked me to pray for the family, and I'm so glad about that. I just want to give you a little bit of information on what's going on here and just the nuclear family. I got this information from the Cure Foundation, Center for Urban Renewal and Education out of Washington, D.C., and I'm actually one of their board members. And this report came out, they call it the FOIC White Paper. And it talks about the nuclear family, and it just reminds us that in 1970, 40% of all American households were headed by married couples with children. Today, it's 18%. So in 1970, 40% of all American households were headed by married couples with children. Today, it's 18%. Single family. In 1970, only 7% of American children lived with a mother who had never been married. In 2014, that number was 48%. Say again, in 1970, only 70% of American children lived with a mother who had never married. But in 2014, the number was 48%. Births outside of marriage. Blacks have moved from 22% unwed births in the 60s to 72% today. Whites have moved from 3% of unwed births in the 60s to 30% today. Hispanics, while no data was available in the 60s, today unwed births are 53%. And then as far as abortion, God said a man and a woman are to come together and marry. A man and a woman, not two women and not two men. But a man and a woman are supposed to come together and marry, be fruitful and multiply, and raise their children up in the fear and admonition of the Lord. The word of God is true. The word of God has not changed. But it's incumbent upon the church to begin to stand for what God says is true. That God be true and every man be a liar. And then take our place and be used of God to overturn every ungodly law in the name of Jesus. So that we can have sanctity of family. So not only are we not married, put this way out of poverty, is to live for Jesus, for a man and a woman to marry. And statistics bear that out. But then when you get to abortion, Scripture says that the fruit of the womb is God's reward. Children are a heritage from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is His reward. There is something inherently wrong with killing what God calls His reward. And I know that, unfortunately, from personal experience. But when we talk about the issues of abortion and the statistics there, because children make up the family, then our white sisters make up 63% of the population, or have 36% of the abortion. Our Hispanic sisters make up 15% of the population, or have 25% of the abortion. And then our Black sisters, our African American sisters, we make up, and this is a childbearing age, we put this into context. A childbearing age, African American women make up 8% of the population. We're having nearly 40% of the abortion. Then I say sisters, not because I'm a Black woman, but I say sisters because this is happening in the body of Christ. 47% of the women that are going into the abortion mill say they're Protestant, born again believers, love Jesus, Protestant, evangelical Christian. 27% identify themselves as Catholic. So we got over 70% of folks that say they love Jesus, Bible believers, that are sacrificing our babies on the altar of choice and communion. And oftentimes the mothers and the fathers are taking them into the abortion mill. But yet God said in Psalms 127, children are inheritance from the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is His reward. Yet God said, come together as man and woman, get married and be fruitful and multiply. We've been living in a time where people are calling good evil and evil good. And unfortunately, it's happening in the body of Christ. If the body of Christ would just believe the word of God, then what would the world do? The world is not the problem. The problem is with the body of Christ. But I submit to you that the body of Christ, God raised up some folks like us that have come on the National Day of Prayer and say, you don't pray in particular on the National Day of Prayer. We can just start praying today.